Playoff games played since the Chicago Bulls traded Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler 70, the Chicago Bulls 5. How about that, ladies and gentlemen, for a beautiful, beautiful stat as we welcome in Anthony DiNardo. He's hosted Miami Heat Things with the Believe Podcast Network. He's a super beast, and he's in the midst of one of the most improbable and impressive runs in Miami Heat and South Florida history when you consider what these Florida Panthers are doing on the other side of the conference here as we watch Stars and Knights in game number 2. That's a tied ball game here, or puck game, I should say. We'll chuck 1-1. But let's welcome in Anthony DiNardo. Anthony, thank you so much for the time. This is bleeping insane, homie. Are you kidding me? What Jimmy Butler and this Miami Heat team is doing right now, there's no way in your wildest playoff dreams when you looked ahead that you were going to find yourself here today talking to us about anything other than what the Heat are doing in this offseason. I don't even know, Anthony. What the hell?
Yeah, listen, man, I'm certainly not one to doubt Jimmy Butler, not after all he's done for my team over the last few years. But going into the playoffs, as this team was an 8 seed, as they struggled to do anything this season, I really started to get some PTSD of 2021 when the Bucks swept our ass. And I actually thought that's what we was going to see going into round 1. But never again will I doubt Jimmy Butler. And after what we saw in the first round, I had a really, really good feeling that this show is going to keep on rolling. And here we are, 2 games away from being back in the NBA Finals.
It really is wild what Jimmy's doing. I compared it earlier, and obviously we're in Dallas, and this is something, I mean, might be bad memories for you, but we kind of went tick for tack in 06 and 2011. But to me, this is kind of a Dirk-esque type run for Jimmy Butler, where he's the best player on the planet, in my opinion. I don't think anybody's better. He's playing at that high of a level. They're down in the fourth quarter. Jimmy finds a way to will them to victory. He can't be stopped. And if they go on this run, he's the one that's carrying. Because you look at the rest of the team. I mean, who's the one that surprised you the most out of their role players stepping up? It's guys that the average fans never heard of. Duncan Robinson stunk. All of a sudden, he's out here making buckets. But it's all Jimmy Butler. I think he's carrying them much like Dirk did for the Mavs in 2011. It's just his time.
Yeah, not to disrespect the great Dirk, but I'd say Jimmy's more on a Michael Jordan run, I'd say. And yes, as you can tell, I'm still salty about 2011, as you can tell, because my guy back then, Ron, was too scared to post up JJ Barea. But besides that, the thing that's most shocking about this team is it's the complete opposite of last postseason, right? So last year, number 1 in three-point shooting all season, going to the playoffs, completely falls off a cliff, right? This regular season, they're 28th. So near the very bottom in three-point shooting. Max Strus can't hit a shot to save his life no more. Gabe Vincent's been terrible. Duncan Robinson, that boy is on a milk carton because we cannot find him. All of a sudden, we go into the postseason, and they jump from 28th in three-point shooting by percentage to back to number 1. So a complete flip after what it is last year. So to answer your question about who's most surprising, it is literally everybody, especially on the bench, because the shooting, now Duncan Robinson can't miss no more. Max Strus has been awesome. Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin, my God, has he been phenomenal. Everybody on the bench has been surprising because they've all brought their A game this postseason after really struggling almost the entire regular season.
Talking Miami Heat, Boston Celtics with Anthony DiNardo, Believe in Miami. Now, what type of game are you expecting tonight? Because the Miami Heat started as a 1-point dog. All the money is coming in, Anthony, on the Celtics. It's moved the line to a 4-point Celtics advantage. Are you expecting the Celtics desperate team theory to go into Miami and put it on them? Or what's the plan for tonight's game?
Listen, it sucks so much that I live in Florida because the gambling here is a bit difficult. Otherwise, I would have made a ton of money this postseason. Somehow, some way, the Heat continue to be huge underdogs in every single game, although they're 10-3 this postseason and still undefeated at home. You can tell that this Heat team is just built way different mentally and physically than the Boston Celtics. If the Miami Heat are up after the first quarter, I expect the Boston Celtics to fold, and I expect it to be a rout from here on out. And somehow, all these analytics still think that this Heat team is not matched up with the Celtics. I don't get it. If you wanted my advice, slam the Miami Heat from every single game on out until the odds makers finally learn their lesson.
Wow. Slam the Heat, huh? All right.
Hammer them home, dude. It's been the truth.
So,
like they've been a money-making
no, it's true.
opportunity for the last few weeks.
An 8 seed, nobody's giving them credit. You're absolutely right, Anthony. But when you look, so Boston, is there just nothing that's scaring you? You're not worried a little bit about Tatum and Brown, and maybe they finally click and you get one of those, hey, Jayson Tatum, game 7, he finally just puts the team on his back and gets it done. I mean, look, the stat that you gave us, undefeated at home. Unreal. I think this one's going to be close, but at some point I do feel like the Celtics are going to try and make this thing interesting.
Yeah, as much as I'd like to sit here and just spit Heat culture and say, oh, I'm not worried about this guy or that guy, the Celtics are a very, very good team. I don't want to disrespect them at all. Jayson Tatum, he obviously played very, very well last game as well. But again, for the second game in a row, 0 field goals in the fourth quarter. He hit as many buckets as me and you did. That's just the truth. And as much as I want to say, yeah, they're built different, which is the truth, the Miami Heat just are built different from a mentality standpoint. The defensive schemes that Erik Spoelstra is putting out there is just unreal. I mean, the coaching disparity, you can't have a greater disparity than what you have in this series. And if you are watching the way that they key in on Brown and the way that they key in on Tatum, and they're forcing the guys like Al Horford to shoot, Marcus Smart to shoot, guys who just aren't hitting, no, yeah, I certainly expect those role player guys to get hot. Derek White got a little hot last game. Malcolm Brogdon's had a good 2 games, but I don't think those role players will be enough to beat the Heat, especially the way that Jimmy Butler, and I haven't even mentioned Bam Adebayo are rolling right now. I just don't see how you can tell how bad this Heat team wants it and how much they are locked in. It almost looked like the Celtics didn't know what hit them. And I think if you were going to get that desperate Celtics team, you would have saw it last game. And the fact that they came out and they had their big punch and Miami took it, was up at halftime, I think we're going to see a similar thing today. And if Miami's up late, I do look for the Celtics to fold. They're just not built the same.
Has Bam Adebayo been more aggressive in this series than maybe what some people were expecting?
Yeah, I mean, he made the All-Star team this year, second time in his career. But all of that was in the first half of the season. All Heat fans were very, very disappointed in him. He almost fell off a cliff after the All-Star break for some reason. He was looking like the old Bam, meaning he was scared to shoot, scared to drive in on guys, settling for the mid-range shot too much. But then somehow, and he really didn't have a great series versus the Bucks. He did end with a triple-double in Game 5. Did Dallas score? I see some sort of reaction over there.
Yeah, we just got a robo.
Hey,
we just got a robo score.
You're spitting right now, Anthony. And I didn't want to break in there, but yeah, stars on a power play. Jason Robertson, back-to-back goals now in back-to-back games. Woo! Thank goodness, stars up 2-1.
I'd love to see y'all in the Stanley Cup Finals, man. That would be a good time, man. That'd be a good time.
It'd be fun. Okay, let me ask
both
you that.
Teams are rolling now.
They are in Florida. What Florida's doing is honestly unreal. It might just be a team of destiny type of thing with what they've got rocking, but. You look across the other way, just as we're talking finals. I mean, the Heat do look like they're up 2-0. They win tonight. This series over. So you've got Denver as well, owning the Lakers. Were you kind of hoping you get the rematch from the bubble against the Lakers? Or you like, all right, I'll take my chances with Denver?
Nah, a few things go into that. Number one, yes, I want the rematch because we're seeing what this Heat team is doing, rematched against the Bucks and rematched against the Boston. Jimmy Butler is a guy that comes for revenge, and he's different that way. But also, Denver just looks unbeatable right now, man. I'm not going to give no official predictions now because I don't want to jump the gun there a little bit. But the way that entire team is playing and the way that Jokic runs that offense like a well-oiled machine, not to mention that historically, Bam Adebayo struggles immensely versus him. So does everybody. That team scares me a lot. I don't think the Lakers are the same. It's clear LeBron slowed down a bit. AD, he's only good every other game. And I don't trust their role players at all. But regardless, if the Heat do win today, it's looking like we're going to have a Denver Heat finals, which I did call, actually, October of last year. Believe asked me my finals predictions. I said Miami over Denver in 6. So I'll be looking good there. But Denver does scare me. They have the ultimate respect of mine.
Yeah, man, the Nuggets they're playing out of their minds right now. Jamal Murray's a super beast. They got depth. They got versatility. They got guys that can lock you down.
They're
Michael
healthy,
Porter
man.
Jr., yeah, Aaron Gordon. Like, these guys are solid role players. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. But there's some unfinished business here with Boston. And what did you make of that Grant Williams moment, man? When he goes forehead to forehead with Jimmy Butler, I felt like everybody who knows anything about Jimmy Butler knew that was the dumbest thing Grant Williams could have ever done.
All right, I'm going to keep this clean because I don't know how y'all roll over here. But I was watching the game. Grant Williams hit a big 3 to put it to 9, right? I was sitting there. I was watching the game with my boy. And it was just after Lowry missed an open 3. So I saw the tides turn a little bit. And I said to him, I think that might be game. I think this is slipping away. It's looking like the Heat might be content with taking just one game in Boston. The very next play is when Grant Williams started talking all that trash, got into Jimmy Butler's face. Jimmy got the and one. And I looked at my boy and I said, forget everything I said. This game is over. Jimmy Butler is not losing this game. I said, I don't know if you realize, but Grant Williams is screwed. And I don't mean like, no, he's in a little bit of trouble. I mean, no, he is screwed. You don't do that to Jimmy Butler. And sure enough, Jimmy Butler scored 9 straight points after that. The Heat went on a 24-9 run. So Jimmy scored the same amount of points as the entire Celtics team. And it was over from that point. Now, Grant Williams played well before that. So I know a lot of Celtics fans are blaming the whole loss on him. He played well. I think he played well enough for him to get in a substantial amount of minutes today. But if he gets matched up on Jimmy again, somebody better pray for that man.
All right, I'm curious here, Anthony, and that was well said, by the way, 100% factual.
He is screwed.
If and when Tyler Herro's healthy enough to play, is it blasphemous for me to say, Tyler, you could go ahead and keep sitting until maybe we're losing games here, whatever the case may be? It feels like this Heat team is playing right now, and you don't want to distort anything with a guy who doesn't play any defense.
That has been that's an excellent question, because that has been a very, very big topic among Heat fans over this last few weeks. Of course, when he first got injured, they said he could be back for a finals run, and we all laughed, ha, 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 that's not going to happen. Well, here we are. Most likely it's going to happen now, right? But there's no way you can bring him back, right? If you got this far without him, what makes you think that he could actually be a positive contributor to help you get over the hump? Because keep in mind, last year they got almost to the finals again, and he missed a ton of time also because he did get hurt in that Eastern Conference Finals. Didn't come back until Game 7, which he's very hobbled. He played horribly. But a lot of the things that we're seeing from Gabe Vincent, a guy who's kind of playing that role, he's taking a lot more shots now that Tyler's not there. We're saying the same things about Tyler, or about Gabe, that we did about Tyler. If he's inefficient and has bad shot selection. The positive, though, is Gabe Vincent at least plays a little bit of defense. Like you just said, Tyler ain't playing no defense. So when he's out there shot chucking, being inefficient, then you're not getting nothing from him. So I actually really like the fact that Gabe's got a lot more minutes, because if he is being inefficient, you're at least getting the defensive side of the ball.
One thing, and the reason why I picked Miami in this series, was the coaching advantage. You touched on it earlier.
Respect. Not many people did. Yeah. I respect that.
Not a lot, but we broke it down previewing, and I was like, man, I did go with the Lakers over the Nuggets. That looks like a schmucky pick, but I rocked with the Heat, and it was all because I thought Spoelstra would coach circles around Missoula.
Yeah, Walchuk is 2 Heat victories away from cashing in Heat plus 400.
Yeah, it was crazy.
700 odds. It was coming
Beautiful.
into this thing. Beautiful. But yeah, go ahead, Anthony. This coaching advantage is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the playoffs is about, right? People say it's about a few things. They say it's about depth. They say it's about how good your stars are, and they say it's about coaching. Jimmy Butler's the best player in this series. I can't tell you how many times people gave me crap for that, because I was saying this weeks ago, but there's no debate about it. When you're looking at Jayson Tatum, the guy has 0 field goals. I repeat, 0 buckets in the fourth quarter. Meanwhile, Jimmy Butler is absolutely unstoppable when it comes to winning time, right? So you have the best player in the series. You have the second best player in the series, because Bam Adebayo has been way better than the number 2 on Boston, and Jaylen Brown, obviously. Then you talk about the depth, right? Well, that's why the Celtics are getting all these great odds, because they got all this depth, right? They got Marcus Smart, defensive player of the year, fraudulent, I might add. Rob Williams, supposedly this insane shot blocker, fraudulent again, I might add. Al Horford, who shut down Embiid. I'd argue Embiid shut down that self. That dude is built weak up here, and obviously he's old as dirt. And then you got Derek White. He's fine, But when you look at this Miami team, just because you got a lot of undrafted guys that people haven't heard of, they assume this team has no depth. Max Strus is shooting the lights out. Caleb Martin is a amazing two-way player. Gabe Vincent is the perfect starting point guard on a team that has a superstar like Jimmy Butler. Duncan Robinson, one of the most elite shooters in the league, and the amount of gravity that he pulls just running around the court, even if he isn't shooting, that gives so much space for your drivers like Jimmy and Bam. So I'd argue that the Heat even have more depth than the Boston Celtics. And then obviously Erik Spoelstra, top 15 coach of all time. He's quite literally seen it all and been through it all. And Joe Mazzulla hasn't done any of that. I really hope they don't let him go. I think too much in the NBA nowadays, they fire a coach without letting him get any experience. I don't know how you're supposed to get any better the way these coaching carousel is as fast as it is. I think that's part of the reason that Spoelstra is so successful, is because this Heat team believed in him from day one and let him stick it out through all the ups and the downs, and we're seeing that all bear out now.
All right, 30 seconds or less here, Anthony. Who's the role player that steps up for the Heat tonight? It was Caleb Martin last game. Who's it tonight?
Who's the role player that steps up for the Heat tonight? It's a good question. You said 30 seconds or less. It's tough to say because it's a random guy in every night. Let's just go with Max Strus. That's always been my guy. I love the confidence that he has. That man could be 0 for 10, and you'll still think that the next one's going in.
I'm telling you, folks, Max Strus over 11.5 points tonight. It's an absolute lock.
Smash
Anthony
it.
DiNardo, your
Smash
piece.
it.
Thanks, homie. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks, y'all.
buddy.
Yes, sir. There he goes. Anthony DiNardo, believe in Miami. Miami and Boston getting set for 8:30 Central tonight. We're in the midst of Western Conference Finals, Stanley Cup.